Hi there, my name is David. Welcome to my channel. Today what we'll be going to be doing is working on a Knitmaster Mod 150, and let's see how this works. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be working on this Knitmaster Mod 150, and this knitting machine is very similar to the Brother KH230. If you look at previous videos, you will see a detailed setup, and the setup is exactly the same, and I'm only going to just talk about a few of the things for the setup that you need to do, and then basically we're going to do a cast on. One of the main differences with the KH230 Brother machine is the tension unit. The Knitmaster Mod 150 has this tension unit, which is adjustable, whereas the other tension unit is not adjustable on the KH230 Brother machine. Um, this is quite common with Knitmaster, and as you can see, this is where you adjust it. This is the adjustment segment where you take the yarn and you adjust it, and that's basically what you do. Um, they're both the same relatively, even though you've got to do an adjustment. It's not much of a difference, so it's really quite easy to do. And basically, you just slot it in. When you unpack it, you slot it in like so, and that's how you set up your tension unit for the Knitmaster Mod 150. The other difference is with the Knitmaster Mod 150 compared to the Brother machine, the KH230, is it's just some of the details on the machine. Here on this here, they've got just two dashes and two dashes here, one dash and two dashes. That represents the holding stitch, and this represents the knitting stitch. So when you start your machine, just make sure that your levers are down. Basically, that would be for holding, and this is where you do your knit stitch. So basically, that's where there's a difference. The similarities with the Brother KH230 is very much the same. The way you insert the yarn, the way you adjust your dials, is very much the same. Um, this has an intarsia application. It stands for I, and this has a slip stitch application. It's really, really relatively easy. And zero here just represents normal knitting. And this is your dial where you adjust for the yarn. And you just adjust it as you see fit for the type of yarn you're using. You do everything basically the same as the Brother KH230. And there really is no difference between the two machines. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do a cast on and show you how the cast on works on for this machine. First, what you do is before you cast on is that you thread your tension unit, and here you put the first section through your yarn guide. This is a yarn guide, and so that's the first section you do. You place the yarn through the first section of the tension unit. This is your actual tension. I put this around about 2 first, and then you slot it into here, like so, and then you bring down the antenna part of it, and you insert that into this section here. I did not have a yarn slot that comes with the machines normally. This one was missing a segment to it, so I don't actually know what that is. So I've had to figure out a way to use it. So what I do is with my useful clips, I put the clip on like so, and then what I do is I attach the yarn onto that clip like that, and that acts as a way just to hold the yarn temporarily when you knit. And it's really quite simple, and you can just pull it down a little bit and it still holds nicely. So that's all you really need to do for your yarn tension unit, and for sorting out the yarn that you're going to use. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select about 30 needles. Uh, Here is the 15, and here is the 15 on either side, and the rest is what I'm going to be selecting to do my cast on. So it's really much the same as the KH 230 brother machine, and it's relatively simple on what you can do. What I'm going to be doing now is a closed edge cast on. It's not an open edge cast on. I'm just going to do this one cast on because it's all I really use the most of, and I don't really need anything else. This is a relatively easy cast on to do. It's just an E-wrap cast on, I should say, which is a closed edge cast on. So as you can see, it goes really simple. The only thing you've got to check on the needles is to check that they are the latches are open, and this is how you basically do your cast on. Here I am. I'm just going to finish off the cast on. Just do a few more stitches. And this is my cast on finished, should I say. The E-wrap cast on that I've done. And basically what you do is you insert that into the sinker plate. Uh, Here I am. I'm just going to insert the yarn into the sinker plate like so. And that is your yarn complete. Completely inserted for to do your first row of stitching. With the stitch dial, I'm going to move the stitch dial to about 7.5, and just make sure that your levers are down, because that is the knitted thing. The two dashes represent the knitting, and this one dash represents hold. So when you push the needles out, you don't want them to be in hold, otherwise it won't knit. So you need to make sure that your machine is in the second position, and just check your dial on what it is. On the actual instructions, it says it should be on 6, but I find that when I do a much bigger stitch, or do the same stitch as what the yarn requires, then I find that that is much better when you do your machine knitting. So what we'll be doing now is our first row of the cast on. This stitch will be a little bit difficult to do, the first row, and but when you do the second row, it should go much easier. Now what you do is you add on your weights, and this is what you do. and then you continue knitting. I usually do about 10 rows, and then that's kind of my cast on. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to show you how to do a ribbing. Uh, you would be, this machine doesn't have a ribbing attachment to it, so I just wanted to show you how to do a ribbing that is really quite easy to do. And you can do it any way you want. You can do 1 by 1 or 2 by 2 or even 3 by 3. It depends on how you want your ribbing to look. So it's really quite simple, and I will show you how to do it. What I'm going to show you is I'm just going to show you from the center front of this knitting, and just show you quickly how this works. When you do your ribbing, what you do is you take a needle out and then you drop a stitch, and that's your first part to taking the ribbing. You're doing the ribbing piece that you need to do. What you do is when you come to the end, you just pick these stitches carefully, and then what you do is you just go down to the last stitch, like so, and then what you do is you hook that stitch in, and this is going to be the first stitch that you work from, the first loop. So what you do is you take the loop and you make sure the latch tool is, the loop is behind the latch tool, and then you pull in that yarn, and you do the same for the thing. You make sure that the loop is behind the latch, and then you move and grab the next ladder that you need to do. And this is basically how you do your ribbing by hand. It's relatively easy. After a bit of practice, you find that it's much easier. On the chunky machines, doing your own rib is really quite easy, so you don't necessarily have to have a ribbing attachment unless you really want it, or that you got a big body of work that you need to do. And then basically you just loop it back onto the machine like so, and that's your rib done. And that's really quite simple on how you do your rib. It's really quite easy, and you can do a number of these ribs and do it exactly the type of numbers you want to do. I just wanted to show close up when you finish doing your ribbing. You've done your ribbing and you just pull it up, you're down to the last stitch. What you do is you do the last stitch that you're going to do, you pull it up, and what you do is you actually put it, your latch tool, you make sure that's open, you pull your latch up, put the yarn on there, and then you just pull it back onto the machine. And that's your ribbing done. And it's really quite simple how you can do ribbing. What I wanted to show you here is a machine knitting tip when you actually do your ribbing. When you do your ribbing and you drop that stitch, you come down to kind of like the 2 rows, and what you do is you take that row off, and that is the row, that is how it should look when you start your ribbing. Now what happens is when you go this far, and you should go further than that, this is what happens. That's what happens when you do your stitch. This is what can happen, and you don't actually have a loop to work from. So what you do is, here's a little tip that you can do is, what I do is I twist it. I make a twist around like so, and then with that twist I actually grab a loop and I pull it through, and that creates a loop that you can use. So you can actually save that section of doing your rib if you should actually drop that last loop when you do your ribbing. Um, so it can be saved. It just changes the bottom bit a little bit. It's better to just to go down to that last loop and to use that loop. But if you should drop that last loop, you can actually save it by doing a little twist on the last section of the floats that you have for your ribbing. So then it ends up that this is how you do your ribbing, and it's just a case of trial and error, and this is how you can get to do your ribbing and complete it. So that's your ribbing, and that's what it looks like. You just have to pull it down when you finish with your ribbing. Sometimes you go into the knitting. I just put a weight on it, and that seems to pull the knitting into the section. I don't mind ribbing by hand. I find that the quality of it is just as good as if you had a ribbing attachment, and I kind of like the process of it, and I like doing the ribbing partly by hand. So this is the ribbing, and it's really quite easy to do. This is your final rib and what it looks like. I like this. It's really nice. I really found it quite even. Maybe I should just make a slightly tighter stitch because I did about 7.5. So next time I do this rib, I will probably do a 7, or even a little bit less, maybe 6.5, just to make my rib a little bit tighter. But overall, this works really well. I'm quite pleased with it, and that's the final rib. Well, this is the end of the video. I just wanted to show you what this machine's about, and just to give you an idea of how to do a ribbing. So I want to say thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave a comment, and I will be looking at the next project soon.